we cannot forget Family Matters.
These people want encouragement.
With some good Friday vibes.
There'll be time enough for counting when the deal is done.
The Morning Cafe with Linda Alela, Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Only on TV 47.
Tonight, in a blunt presidential plea, President Uhuru Kenyatta faced the mountain, urging his political backyard to work with him while dismissing the hustler narrative, terming it as a source of division. Kenyatta's address to the mountain coming days after Kangata's damning letter that dimmed BBI hopes in the region. His deputy William Ruto is in war of words with ODM leader Raila Odinga. On Pundits Night, we make sense of the politics of BBI. Our guests tonight are Madira lawmaker Rigathi Gachagua, nominated member of parliament Godfrey Osotsi. Your voice matters, your opinion counts. Keep talking to us. The hashtag to use is Pundits Night. Send us a message on 22047. Let's get to that discussion. And thank you, gentlemen, both for making time for us on TV 47 tonight. Mheshimiwa Rigathi, let me start with you. Many of the leaders, some in fact from the central Kenya region, argue that Kangata's letter to President Uhuru Kenyatta was their voice. How so?
Thank you very much and happy New Year. Indeed, what Senator Kangata told the president is what most of us have been saying. And some people were accusing us of being disrespectful to the president, others were saying we are abusing him. But we were just saying the truth. And what happened is that Kangata went to home for Christmas, and there had been a by-election the previous 3 weeks where Jubilee lost. And he was concerned, and he called a few key people to discuss with them what could be the problem. And then they told him the reality as it is. They told him, my friend, we like you, we have voted you as a councillor, as an MP, as a senator, you want to be governor, but you have lost it. And
to you, what Kangata has told the president is the reality?
It's not the real reality, it's just part of it.
But he says it is unstructured, unscientific.
What Kangata told the president is that the BBI is unwanted in the region. What he did not tell him is that the handshake is also unwanted, you know? And the people of the mountain do not consider BBI as a priority. You know, my friend, the mountain people are business people. And they have had a very rough time economically for the last 8 years. And they think after the COVID outbreak and their businesses got destroyed completely, the people of the mountain think that if there is any money available by the government, that money should come to assist us to revive their businesses. They don't think that changing the constitution is a priority, and they don't think that it is a project worth putting any money into.
But the idea of changing the constitution predates COVID-19. It is as a result of the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga.
Our people do not even believe in the handshake, you know?
Why so?
Because they were not consulted. You know, Abubakar, our people are different. It's a community of persuasion and consensus and discussion. These are people who are fairly gone to school, and they like being consulted, and nobody has ever told them what the whole thing is all about.
All right.
And the president, with very good intentions, did not carry his people along. He should have sat down with his people, tell them about the handshake, tell them about the BBI, you know, consult with the leadership, convince them, persuade them, and carry them along with them, like what he was trying to do today.
All right, we'll come to that question of carrying his people along in this BBI narrative. Nonetheless, let me bring Mheshimiwa Godfrey Osotsi to the discussion. Kangata in his letter says that in his unscientific, unstructured findings, only 2 out of 10 people in central Kenya support the BBI. A finding he said was based on his individual and personal observations. 2 out of 10 is indicative of a president who either has lost grip of his backyard or is on the verge of doing so?
Well, Abakri, I can say that Honorable Senator Kangata is the majority whip in the Senate. And from my understanding of how Parliament works, is that a majority whip is a key member of the ruling party. Even on the opposition side, the minority whip is a key member of the opposition. So it's not possible that majority whip in the Senate would have difficulties in accessing the president. He is one of the few senators, for that matter, who has direct access to the president. He is a phone call away to the president, and some of the concerns that we saw in that letter are concerns that can easily be addressed by seeking a meeting with the president and sitting down with the president and discussing these things and telling the president, look, these issues are not being addressed. But you see, the letter by Kangata is a demonstration of dishonest. And I've had time to try and find out what were the circumstances around Kangata's letter. And I am reliably informed that there was a meeting involving Kangata, Mheshimiwa Ndindi Nyoro, Member of Parliament for Kiharu, and Mheshimiwa Moses Kuria, Member of Parliament for Gatundu South, a meeting held in Mombasa. And in that meeting, they had a candid meeting to discuss politics. And there was some recording done by Honorable Moses Kuria, who authored that letter that eventually found its way in media houses and in social media.
All right, let me interject you at that point.
Just a moment before you cut me short. This is the kind of dishonest we are seeing around our brothers in Tanga. And I think this is the kind of dishonest we'll be discussing in this interview. About how dishonest our brothers on the other side are. Honorable Kangata,
let me interject you at that point.
Honorable Kangata, just a moment.
We have a lot to discuss. Let me ask you this question so that it becomes more of a conversation. You talk of Kangata's proximity to the president. In fact, he himself stated that this was a letter he wrote to the president but was leaked. But what he said is that there is nowhere in that letter that he insulted the president, that he relayed what he has been told by the people of Muranga. He respects and loves the president, but also thinks it is important to tell him the truth. If the people of Muranga who elected him and sent him to the Senate are the ones who are saying this, at least he as a leader played his conveyor belt role.
Let me tell you, he does not need to write a letter to the president. I have had discussions with Amos Kimonya, who is a majority leader in National Assembly. I've had discussions with Honorable Pogish, Senator Bokijo, who is the Senate majority leader. None of them has written a letter to the president, because when they need the president, they get the president on phone.
But it is one way of communicating with the president.
Yeah, the president is able to sit down with them and discuss issues involving National Assembly and Senate. So the issue of the letter having been written by Honorable Kangata, as I've said, we know the source of that letter. We know who authored the letter. We know the circumstances. We know the kind of intimidation and blackmail that Honorable Kangata has gone through.
And when you say we...
And we also know the character of Honorable Kangata. Honorable Kangata, as we know, he was in the Tanga team. He only came to the handshake team when we had a purge in Parliament, a purge to try and remove elements of Tanga from the leadership of the House. that is when Kangata and many others are still there.
All right.
Came on board and pretended that he was on the handshake team. But now clearly we see that he was a mod.
All right, and when you say we know, we are aware, we, who and who?
We are talking about people who support the cause. The cause of the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and NASA leader and former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. That we have the problem we are facing in this country in terms of the current politicking and in terms of the divide between the handshake and the other team is the element of dishonesty on the Tanga side.
All right.
And I think that will be the focus of my input into this discussion.
All right, and let me pose that remark. Let me pose that remark as a question to Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua, who Nonalezi denies on this show is allied to the Tanga side of Jubilee. You have a right to disagree with me if you have changed your mind. But Mheshimiwa Osotsi talks of dishonesty.
To start with, this alignment of Tanga Kieleweke is something that is neither here nor there. We are a group of leaders who believe in Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto. And we voted for the two as a pair, and we are okay with both of them. Let us not discuss who wrote the letter or why Kangata wrote the letter. Let us discuss the content. Are they factual or not? The Honorable source here would know he doesn't come from the Mount Kenya region. The people who are dishonest are those who are telling the president it's okay. Kangata is an honest man. And I really admire his courage. And I also am happy that he wrote a letter to the president openly so that his people can know that he has communicated. Those others he is saying they are holding private meetings with the president, probably nothing will come out of it. What Kangata said is what the president was saying this morning. Yeah, the president was asking his backyard to back the BBI because he said there's a problem, and that is what Kangata said. These people, Mheshimiwa Osotsi and others, are living in denial, you know. And the truth of the matter is that the mountain region has taken a certain stand in matters BBI, in matters handshake, in matters succession. You may call them Tanga, you may call them dishonest, you may call them whatever you want to call them, but the truth of the matter and the reality is that they have taken a certain stand.
And what is that stand?
That stand is that the people of the mountain cannot be dictated to by anybody, including the president, on whom to support in 2022. Number two, they are uncomfortable with the BBI because they don't think it's a priority as of now. Okay? They are uncomfortable with the handshake because they were not involved and nobody thought it's important to carry them along. But now when we have to deal with the baby from the handshake, they are expected to move along. And they are saying, since you never involved us from the word go, yeah, in the later stage, you want us now to come on board and support the baby from the handshake.
Regarding what does the involvement of the region on BBI mean? The president has toured the region, talking about a unity pact between him and Raila Odinga, saying this was the country's good in general.
That is him saying, and that's okay, and it's his opinion.
But he's the highest political leader from the region.
It's okay. Our community is a community of discussion and consensus. That was his statement, and he's in order. But it doesn't mean because he has said so, we must move along. What we would have expected the president to do in normal circumstances is to call a meeting of the Jubilee Parliamentary Party. And I want to tell you, Mheshimiwa Osotsi, why we're having a problem and why Kangata is writing a letter is because there's no discussion in Jubilee. The party has not held a meeting since 2017. The only meetings that have taken place are disciplinary meetings and chasing away people. You know, there has never been a meeting to discuss anything substantial. What would have happened is that he would have called a PG for the Jubilee and discuss with us the handshake, discuss with us the BBI. You can remember Jubilee did not even take a position in BBI. We never gave anything from Jubilee. So we were left to make our own individual decisions. But as a party, he never called a meeting for us to discuss and agree, and then we can take a position, and then that position will be binding to all of us. As it is today, everybody has taken an individual position because the party has never sat down to have a discussion.
All right, Kangata talks of 2 out of 10 people in the central Kenya supporting the BBI only. You talk of ratings that are worse than that. But is it not surprising that the region enlisted 793,135 signatures in a record 7 days?
Where is there a problem? Why is the president pleading with the people to back it up? Those things were done by chiefs from M-Pesa, from what is it called? This is a program for old people. Yeah, the chiefs, like in my area, were given a target of 500 people. And they had to devise all ways and means because they were told, if you don't bring these 500 signatures, you are going to lose your job. So they came up with all sorts of formula to come up with names and signatures, but those things are not real. You know, that is the problem. And people are saying, when you see there are these signatures, from where? I've never come across anybody who did that signature. I've just come from Nyeri. I was there the whole of yesterday. I had like 4 meetings. I had 2 meetings today. And I've asked, has anybody of you appended their signature for BBI? They said no. You know?
Of course, there is a constitutionally mandated independent body that will verify those signatures, whether they are true or not. Nonetheless, Osotsi, I'm reading what you said in October 22nd, 2020, that there is nothing fundamental to warrant real or disguised rejection, which is a clear sign of your support should there be a referendum, which begs the question, for the president to have addressed his political backyard in his native language today, at least to some, signals as though there is a problem and there is a denial on another hand.
I think what I must say is that the president is in a very, very unique situation because we are seeing a scenario where we have a honest president who is honest on the matters of national unity, bringing the country together, and on matters of constitutional changes. But we have a situation where he's working with a team of people in his political side who are not supporting his vision. And if we go back, really back to the history of the handshake and BBI, I am very surprised that my colleague here, Honorable Gachagua, whom I respect a lot, he's been an administrator, he's been the PA to the president for close to 20 years, can tell Kenyans in a national TV station that the region where he comes from does not regard the handshake to be anything to them. When we know that the handshake between the 2 very important national leaders, that is Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, brought calm into this country, and that handshake was not just an empty handshake. There was an agreement. There was an agreement, and that is the most important point, that there was an agreement of 9 issues between the president and the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. 9 fundamental issues that affect this country, which basically border on the problems of this country. And they said as leaders that yes, these are issues that affect this country. This is an opportunity for us to address it. Those issues have now culminated into what we call BBI. And the process of BBI, as the president has explained before, he talked to us in Naivasha and said, even the appointment of the task force, the deputy president was involved. He provided the names of individuals who were appointed to the task force. The deputy president is on record having told this country that he supports the handshake. But when we got into the process of BBI, we have seen our friends on the Tanga side, for lack of a better term, they have changed positions many times. The 2 events we have had in Bomas of Kenya, they have attended, which is a clear signal that they were part of the process. But after the event, we have seen positions changing. We have seen them scandalizing the process. And I get to wonder why that is the case.
And we will ask that. We will ask that regarding who is with us. We will ask regarding that. Let me ask this. My question was for the president to have come publicly to address his political backyard, pleading with them to support the BBI and the handshake and the pact between him and Raila Odinga, to some signals as though there is a problem in that region.
I think the president is demonstrating leadership. The problem we are having now in Mount Kenya region is a problem of leadership, because leaders who are supposed to provide leadership are not providing leadership. They have decided to take sides because of personal interest. We know very well, and this is something that we will talk about. The president, in his first term of being in power, he gave a leeway to the deputy president. The deputy president was running the show, and he took advantage of that opportunity to do some funny things. We know the level of corruption that took place. We know that these individuals who are now claiming to be pushing an agenda for deputy president were receiving benefits, corruption benefits, tenders, and all those kind of things.
All right.
Now,
and at the end of the day,
we are dealing with people who are beneficiaries of corruption, and they are there to support it. We lack the central province of Kenneth Matiba. We lack the central province of Charles Rubia, people who stood for this country. The central province leadership we are having.
Those who are rejecting this are saying. They say they are making this out of their individual decisions.
The central province leadership we are having are people who are pushing for their self-interest, and the people who don't care about Mount Kenya, and there are people who are pushing for self-interest and pushing an agenda which is an agenda that is not for the people of Central Province. So the president has started coming out to tell his region the truth. And I encourage the president to continue doing so, that the people can get the truth about what is happening and all this distortion. Because when you say BBI is bad, and I want to challenge my friend here, whom I respect a lot, Honorable Gachagua, to tell me what is bad in BBI. BBI talks about land injustice.
I think
it talks about TJRC report.
Fair enough.
The gentleman here comes from Nyeri, which has highest number of Mau fighters who are fighting for the injustice.
All right. You have made your point.
BBI says we must implement that.
You have made your point, and for purpose of fairness,
I think my brother.
I'll give you a right to respond to that. But for purpose of fairness, of course, any scandal that was within the Jubilee government will be ranked as a Jubilee government scandal. It won't favor one side of the Jubilee. Nonetheless, react to it.
To start with, the Honorable Ototsi is least qualified to know who represents the interests of the Mount Kenya. He wouldn't even understand the people of Mount Kenya. He has no idea. The Mount Kenya people are business people. Their interests are economic. They are not interested in the constitution. They are interested in money in their pocket. They want good prices for their coffee, good prices for their tea. They want their businesses to run, and they want money in the pocket, and they want a thriving economy. Their priority for now is the president and his government to focus on reviving the economy, not changing the constitution.
Exclusively on the economy?
Yeah, that is what they are interested in.
But the
number two,
is equally political.
Listen, let me finish.
Fair.
Number two, the Honorable Tsotsi here cannot come here and accuse the Deputy President of corruption. I think that is very scandalous, because the Deputy President has not been prosecuted for being held in corrupt activities. Since they came to the handshake, they kicked the Deputy President out of government. The worst form of corruption is the COVID billionaires. It has happened when the Deputy President is not there, and therefore you cannot talk about corruption in the first term. The corruption that has taken place during the handshake, the president today himself, President Uhuru Kenyatta, this morning confirmed that Kenya is losing 2 billion shillings every day. Deputy president is not there. The president himself confirmed. Let me also tell him, he's saying he misses Matiba and Rubia. These are the Matibas and Rubias of today. The central Kenya people do not like chest thumping. They do not like being forced to do things. And that is why Matiba and Rubia stood up to Moi. We are saying, and this is the position that we have taken. We are not going to support anything we don't believe in, something that we have not been convinced what it is. What the president did today, what the president did today.
You say the interest of Mount Kenya is purely economics. It's you, Rigathi, who is on record to have said that leaders have to decide whether they want to follow a retiring president or follow their people. The president has been having monologue conversations. He needs to go to the ground and take time to listen to people and their ideas. Their interest is equally political, isn't it?
No. When he comes to listen to us, we'll tell him our problems are economic. What he was saying today, he was talking about the BBI and the handshake. He lost it. Because if he had called some people and asked them, why is there grumbling in the mountain? Why is there some rebellion? Why are people not following what I'm saying? If he had taken time to talk to us, and that is what I would urge him to do. And by the way, today I liked the way he was speaking. He was reconciliatory, he was persuasive, you know, which is like before, where the handshake people were saying nobody can stop reggae, this must happen, that must happen. Today is a good beginning. The president can take it a little bit further. He can call us and give us time to tell him where the problem is and allow us to talk. Let's not have a monologue. Allow us to tell him exactly what disturbs his people. Why are his people restless? Why are they looking uncompromising? Why are they not going along with what I'm saying? He will take time to listen. But if he takes advice from the likes of Ososi who don't come from that region, they are likely to misadvise him. During the funeral that took almost 10 hours, he got unsolicited advice from Senator Malala and Francis Atwoli. Go back to your people and whip them to toe the line. Toa kiboko. Where are you? That is advice that cannot work in the mountain. And what he did today is the right thing. Come and appeal to the people. He ignored the advice that was being given by Malala and Atwoli. That may work in Western. I don't know about Western or Nyanza. It may work there, this kiboko business.
You say
in the mountain.
Regarding you say today is a good beginning.
It's a good beginning.
A beginning with an impact. Does it change anything?
No. It opens an opportunity that the president now does not want to force the BBI down our throats. He does not. He even said those who are disagreeing with him and those he said were abusing him, and sometimes even people who are disagreeing are accused of abusing him, he is not going to send police to arrest them. That's a good beginning. You know, we are beginning somewhere. And in his tone, because I listened, and I understand the language well, for 1.5 hours, the tone he took this morning as he started the conversation is a good tone. You know, appealing, persuading. Now we are beginning. If he can take it a little bit further, call us, all the leaders, without saying who belongs to what function, who doesn't belong to what function. Anybody who is elected by the people, because you represent the people. Sit us down and say, ladies and gentlemen, I have this BBI, and I can see from what I'm getting, Kangata wrote me a letter, and I can hear there is some noise. What is the problem? Why this is a good document? Why do you people have a problem with it?
You talk of the tone of the president, which you say today was more reconciliatory.
Yes, it was.
But the tone of leaders from central Kenya, you inclusive, among other leaders, has been very unforgiving to the president. Yes. Some saying he is a failure.
No, because the people around him have been abusing us. They have been calling us tanga-tanga, saying we are dishonest. We have been paid by Ruto. Just how much money does Ruto have? My friend, if you wanted to be paid, we know who can pay us. We know who has money in this country. We will not be there. We will be somewhere else if we wanted to be paid. And also the stand they had taken that anybody who was anti-handshake, the government had unleashed the state agencies against us, you know. And instead of cowing us, we became very hardened.
All right.
It's because you see, they were sending DCI to any member of parliament who is disagreeing with the handshake. They said ARA, they said KRA, they remove your bodyguards. All those strong-arm tactics is what created this rebellion you can see in the mountain. And today I'm happy. I'm very happy. I listened to the president.
All right.
And I was very happy that he was reconciliatory. He was saying he will not send police to people. He was saying, my people, you listen. Let us reason together. Let us be united. That is a good beginning. And if he can take it a little bit further by having a meaningful engagement with the leadership, I think we can get somewhere.
All right. Osotsi Rigathi talks about people misadvising the president. Are other politicians turning the president against his political backyard?
Let me tell you one thing. I have had to get time and analyze issues around BBI, handshake, and what is happening in Central and, of course, across the country. And I can tell you one thing. When I look at Uhuru Kenyatta, I think Uhuru Kenyatta is a honest leader. I think Uhuru Kenyatta is a statesman who wants this country to be one. And that's why he forgot all the issues that he had with us in NASA and decided to go for a handshake with Honorable Raila Odinga. But I think the main challenge that Honorable the President has is the issue of he is trying to do the right thing against the interest of a criminal enterprise called Tangatanga. These are people who, during the first term of presidency, the Jubilee presidency, they had all the leeway. Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta gave all the leeway to his deputy president because he trusted him, and he has said that. And this gentleman went on the rampage. He went on the looting rampage. He made friends, people like Gachagua here. They were given contracts, they were given tenders, and we are seeing a scenario where beneficiaries of corruption are coming together to fight the president who mean well for this country.
So you are claiming that. You are not substantiating.
I am saying that.
You are not substantiating. You are claiming that.
I am saying that. Honorable Gachagua here has cases in court. And that is a fact. On issues of tenders, even in a county which is neighboring my county, Bungoma County, which are questionable before the court. And we know many others.
But there is no verdict,
there's
no verdict from the court to say this is a criminal enterprise.
No,
as you
it's
say.
a case going on. I don't want to discuss the case here.
But you are giving a verdict.
But I'm saying these are individuals I sit with in parliament, and we know the truth. That the only reason why they are there supporting the deputy president and disowning the president Uhuru Kenyatta is because of the benefit they have received from the deputy president. And when he says that the businesses in Mount Kenya are collapsing, then you ask, where did the rain start beating us? The rain started beating us during that first term, when many bad things happened, when even this thing of saying public debt is very high. It started then. We know SGR, Kibaki left it at 2.7 billion shillings. But when they came to power, they canceled that contract and they instituted a new contract that was going to cost 3.5 billion shillings.
There you mean Jubilee?
Yes, and then it went to 4.3 billion shillings. The deputy president never complained then because he was benefiting. We know what has happened in all these parastatals. We know that when they took over power, they shared government half-half. Uhuru Kenyatta has not sacked his people. They are still in government. They are still in parastatals. So when Mheshimiwa Rigathi comes here and starts blaming the president for the failing economy of Mount Kenya region, I think he's being dishonest. And that's why I say...
But he is the president of the Republic of Kenya.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying I am talking about dishonesty of our colleagues on the Tangatanga side. And the way they are conducting themselves, there is every reason to believe that they are running a criminal enterprise. Because they have all the hallmarks of a criminal enterprise that defends itself when attacked.
I think we need to be careful on
That
national
defends
television.
itself when attacked.
I think we need to be careful on national television.
All right.
Not to call people a criminal
This is a
enterprise.
national television, but it's the truth.
Gentlemen, it's only a court of law that can declare one is a criminal or not. That has not happened, so that does not stand.
I am not discussing.
That is what you are claiming, Osotsi. Nonetheless,
I am saying,
you talk of corruption.
I am saying
let me ask
that
this.
the individuals in Tangatanga enjoyed contracts and tenders courtesy of the deputy president. And that's why they are beholden to him.
Unsubstantiated.
And that's why they can go to the extent of disowning their own president from Mount Kenya region.
I'll give you a chance, Rigathi. Osotsi, you talk of corruption in the Jubilee government. You talk of people benefiting from the Jubilee government. On the other hand, you are praising the same Jubilee government for the BBI.
No, BBI is a different issue. And that's why we need to talk about why are Tanga opposed to BBI. They are opposed to BBI, one. And this is a fact that no one has talked about. And Honorable Sosi is talking about it today. That BBI talks about corruption, how we are going to manage corruption. It says all corrupt cases must be resolved.
And you have made that point. You have made that point of corruption.
It talks about land injustice.
All right,
it talks about historical injustice. That TJRC report. And the Honorable Rigathi is from Nyeri. I have been to his place and I've seen the people who are staying, who are relocated from the forest, are staying somewhere there on the road.
All right.
They have no land.
Osotsi,
when are these people going?
Osotsi, let's have a discussion.
The issues going to be dealt with.
Let's have a discussion. I've given you time to make your point.
First and foremost,
yes, react to.
I have no criminal case in any court.
Yes.
What has been there are allegations to try to intimidate me by the DCI. And the things they allege that I did when I was working for Uhuru Kenyatta. And nobody had a problem with them. Nobody has any evidence to take me before a court of law. And when they do, if they look for trumped up charges and take me to court, I will defend myself. And we have a country of rule of law. I think it is very inappropriate for a member of parliament to come here and accuse another one of being a criminal who has not been convicted. I mean, the rules of natural justice allows people to be heard. You cannot be condemned and heard, okay? You cannot call people a criminal enterprise, people who don't have a criminal record and who have not been convicted. That is a lot of propaganda. What has happened is that the government was trying to use the criminal justice system to intimidate independent thinking members of parliament like myself who are allied to the deputy president, okay? And we have refused to be intimidated, and we have said we have no problem in being taken to court on any charge. In the fullness of time, we shall be vindicted. Those things happened in the Moi era where I served. I am aware of these tactics. They keep on happening every day. And they will never make us get discouraged or make us change our mind. We shall never kneel down to anybody.
All right.
We can only kneel down to God.
All right.
So I want to say...
Both of you are alluding to... Both of you are alluding to cases...
But let me finish. Let me finish. Let me say this. You cannot accuse the deputy president of having abetted corruption in this government. This government is led by President Uhuru Kenyatta. And this morning he was saying there is corruption every day. Ruto is out of government. And we would want the COVID billionaires have not been arrested.
You say Ruto is out. Ruto is out of government.
Yeah, he doesn't. He is not. He's just there. He's just there. He's not.
He's the second in command.
Yeah, he is by law. But in terms of effectiveness, everything was given to Matiang'i. What would expect these people in the opposition to be doing? Instead of sitting here praising government, they will be checking the government and demanding the COVID billionaires to be taken to court. They will be checking the issues of corruption in government. That is the work of the opposition. But now they are praising the government. They are inside. They are even praising the government more than it is praising itself.
All right. Let me ask you this, Rigathi, and I ask you this in reference to the speech the president made today while speaking in his native language. He said, and I quote, to the people of Mount Kenya region, beware of people who are intent on bringing division. I urge you, wherever we are going, let's talk together and work together as people. If you are bought with petty cash to decide who will lead and who won't, it will boomerang on you. It seems as though the president knows that there are people who are influencing the decisions made in central Kenya.
The president is entitled to his opinion. As president, as a Kenyan, as a human being. He is saying that the mountain needs to speak in one voice. He must lead in that way. It is him to lead.
And that's why he's saying, let's come together.
Yeah, let him demonstrate that by sitting down with the leaders, not talking down at them. Let me tell you, these people, you cannot force them. It is him now, the way he has started today, and I say this is a good thing.
Okay.
Let him call us, we talk. Number two, the people of the mountain are priceless. And I have told you, Deputy President William Ruto cannot buy anybody. And if Ruto was buying people, I don't know how much money he would have. This man has millions of followers. And I'm also saying today, for the record, those who accuse us of being bought, if we are willing to be bought and we want money, we know where to go. We know who has the money. Serious money. I don't think Ruto has any money worth our attention. If we are available to be purchased, we know where we should go.
I asked you a question without necessarily pointing out to anyone being in a capacity to buy the larger Mount Kenya region. You bring up the question of the DP, which begs the question, is the mountain open to any other politician who is seeking its attention?
The mountain is available to any leader from anywhere who has programs, who has ideas, who has a plan for our people, for their economic emancipation. Anybody who comes to the mountain and convinces us that he has ideas, he has programs that can change our poverty levels, can make our people grow in business, we have every opportunity and we are prepared to engage with that leader, irrespective of where he comes from. And we are asking, even other leaders like Musalia and Kalonzo, let them come to the mountain and let them not wait to be endorsed by anybody. It's a waste of time. Let them come and engage us, talk to us, tell us what their programs are, tell them they understand our problems, what they can do to change our lives, to make our economy better. We shall listen to them.
All right, Osotsi.
Yes. I think, my friend, my concern as a leader is how dishonest leaders can get. Because when my senior here can come here and claim that the deputy president is not in government, and he still draws salary as a deputy president, he still enjoys government machinery as a deputy president, he has not resigned as a deputy president, and then tells us that he's not in government. I think that is the highest level of dishonesty, because we cannot be in a situation where we are in government, we sit in cabinet meetings that makes decisions to govern this country, and then you come out of the cabinet meetings and claim that you are not in the same government. We know in 1966, when Jaramogi Odinga thought that he could no longer, his relationship with the president then, Jomo Kenyatta, was not tenable, he resigned from the government and went back to the trenches.
Out of his own will?
Yes, out of his own will. We are seeing a situation where deputy president, who is the leader of Tangatanga or UDA for that matter, he's in government, enjoying government benefit, enjoying government protection, enjoying government resources, and then he comes out and says he's not in government, that what is happening is not about him, it's about Uhuru. I think we are being unfair. We are being unfair.
All right.
You had your time.
Osotsi,
it's my time.
I'm challenging your line of thought. One resigned out of his own personal will. One is not willing to resign out of his own personal will. It's not a must that he resigns.
No, that is the level of dishonesty. Because if I'm uncomfortable with my relationship with my boss, the best thing I can do, if I'm a genuine person, if I'm a person who respects the rule of law, if I'm a person who is patriotic to this country, is that I will resign and go out and do my thing. When Raila Odinga was uncomfortable with the Kibaki, he left the government and went and did his thing. So why is the deputy president and his friends in Tangatanga still in there as the deputy president, enjoying government benefits, and then coming out and saying, it is not me, it is Uhuru Kenyatta? I think we are being unfair to Uhuru Kenyatta, and Uhuru Kenyatta as a president, he has every right to go and talk to his people and say, the problem I'm having is that I'm dealing with a very dishonest group of individuals who are not ready to support me.
All right. All right, you have made your point. I'll give you a chance to respond, but let me ask this, because I want us to move from the politics of BBI to the claims of a rotational presidency. The president again today, while speaking to the Mount Kenya region, said, and I quote, that my comment during the funeral in Vihiga, perhaps it's time for other communities to lead, seemed to have touched a raw nerve. Did you see the reaction it elicited? He asked the battery of journalists who were interviewing him, which begs the question. There are those who say, whose heritage is made of tribes, and we celebrate our diversity. And probably it's time for another tribe to lead. Hence, as some would locally say, kitty and the chain. Your reaction to that, Rigathi?
Come to that. Jaramogi Odinga resigned because he was an appointee of Jomo Kenyatta. So if they disagreed, he had to go because that was his boss. He's the one who had appointed him. William Ruto is not an appointee of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He is elected by the people of Kenya. His name.
No.
Listen.
Let Rigathi
His
answer
name.
this
True.
That's
His
not
name.
Okay, let Rigathi
His
answer.
name was on the ballot paper. We had the name of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto. They were elected as a pair. William Ruto owes his loyalty to the people of Kenya. And I think for him to consider any decision, he would have to consult with the people who give him the job. Now, about rotational presidency, I am very careful myself that I have never criticized President Uhuru Kenyatta in public because I served as his PA for many years and we have got a good relationship.
Till now?
Yeah, up to now. That does not distinguish my right to have a different opinion, you know, because it's a democracy. In this matter, he went too low. He's the president of the Republic of Kenya. He's a symbol of national unity. It cannot be in the 21st century we are talking about tribes. And, you know, frankly speaking, I think we need to be fair to each other. President Uhuru Kenyatta was the third president in his community, and one of them was his father. If he really believed it is wrong for one community to rule for so long, he had the opportunity not to stand in 2013. But he still stood. Because even myself, I never elected President Uhuru Kenyatta because he's a Kikuyu. And by the way, I've elected him 4 times. This man here,
Inclusive of 2002?
Even 2002. This man, my friend, he has never elected him. And he wants to sit here and lecture us about how to respect Uhuru Kenyatta and how to support him. We have supported Uhuru Kenyatta with our lives from 2002. We have just disagreed. Listen, we have supported, I supported him in 2002. I supported him in 2013. I supported him in 2017, season 1 and season 2. I used my resources. Right. Some of these resources, we are being told to explain where we got from. We use those resources to campaign for Uhuru Kenyatta.
All right, Rigathi, if this is the president of the Republic of Kenya,
yes,
who says, if we look back at our history, we have presidents who largely came from 2 communities. And because of the ethnic animosity and the richness of our politics in terms of tribe being a factor, it's time to consider, what if he said there was no guarantee, neither a blank statement. He said,
well, what we are saying,
he was fronting an idea.
What we are saying,
allowing more people.
He had an opportunity not just to follow that idea.
And given that he's
listen, my friend. He had an opportunity not just to follow the idea, but to walk the talk in 2013 by leaving. What we are saying is this. We had a very bad experience in 2007 when we had the talk of 41 versus 1, and we had serious consequences. The president himself and his deputy bore the brunt of the problems we had at that time because they ended up at The Hague and were vindicated. Okay? When we start a conversation about 40 versus 2, I think it is a very, very serious conversation, especially coming from him as president of the Republic of Kenya. You know, I myself, I have a son who is a doctor. He would want to be president one day. I think it will be very unfortunate if he was to be locked out simply because Jomo Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki and Uhuru Kenyatta from his community were presidents.
All right, and will it be unfair if your son, as an example, because you have cited so, will be locked out on the basis of his father being a member of parliament?
It will still be unfair.
A dynasty.
It will still be unfair.
Will it be unfair?
Even when we elected Uhuru Kenyatta, and myself, even when my people had a problem with him, in 2002 I supported him, I knew his father was a president.
All right.
And I didn't have a problem. Because I was looking at his capacity, I was looking at his programs, I was looking at what he can do for this country.
All right, Rigathi, point made. Osotsi, on the question of rotating the presidency, this is a liberal constitutional country in which one has the political right to seek any seat, provided they meet the constitutional threshold, and be elected or otherwise. Why should it be narrowed down in the language of the president as though there are other communities that also need to be in these positions?
Maybe before I comment on that, allow me to just say one thing about BBI. I think BBI as it is, BBI is not the problem. The problem we have, and I would want Rigathi to address this, is that those who are opposed to BBI, they are coming up with extraneous issues around BBI. Mm-hmm. You remember they said it's COVID time. They said we do not have money, we cannot spend 14 billion. But they are not addressing the real issues around BBI. Mm-hmm. One of the real issues around BBI, which affects Mount Kenya people, is the issue of land injustice. Mm-hmm. Is the issue of historic injustice that were captured in TJRC report. The BBI report says that TJRC report and Ndungu report must be implemented. The other very important issue which affects all of us and is a cancer in this country is the issue of corruption, which says that corruption cases must be addressed within 2 years. Mm-hmm. So that we don't have a scenario where we do corruption cases for even 20 years, like Goldenberg. Mm-hmm. Now, coming to the issue of rotation presidents, I think the president spoke his mind out. And he spoke for millions of Kenyans who know the truth. I remember a few weeks back, I stood in a funeral in Bungoma during the burial of Honorable Mabonga's father. And I told the deputy president to his face mm-hmm. that you've been coming here so many times, but I want to tell you some truth that the people you walk around with, Didmas, Baraza, people like Waluke, people like Washali, are not telling you that every time you come here, you give your big money in Harambes, you go and listen to these people, what they say. Mm-hmm. They don't talk positive about you're coming here. Why? Because your community has been in power for 46. It's going to go to 46 years when you complete your term as deputy president. Now, you cannot now come back here and ask us to add you another 10 years. And surprisingly, the majority of people who are there, who had been ferried there to cheer the deputy president, cheered me loudly, which was a signal that that is the truth. So the president repeated that in Mululu and said, probably it is time for the communities to say.
You talk of the community.
No, just a moment. Let me drive my point at home.
Let me ask this as you drive the point home.
Yes.
You say the deputy president's community. Given that there was no blood relation between the deputy president and Kenya's second president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, why are you locking out someone based on his community?
No. That is the truth. We must admit.
But he's seeking this seat as an individual.
My friend, we must admit that tribalism is a real issue in this country. Mm-hmm. And we cannot skirt around it. We must discuss it openly so that we get solutions to it. So the president, we must understand him. In what context did he say that? I remember he said that if people are talking about dynasties and hustlers, mm-hmm. maybe it is time we start talking about two communities which have led this country. And this business of talking about hustlers and dynasty, mm-hmm. this is a very dangerous and risky narrative for this country. You saw the other day, someone who has struggled, a struggling businessman has bought a car, and then his car is being burnt just because he has a car. Maybe he took a loan, mm-hmm. and his car is being burnt. So we are introducing a very dangerous class narrative that will destroy this country. So the president was right to come and say, instead of allowing this class issue to go on, mm-hmm. can we also say, mm-hmm. maybe it is time for other communities to take charge of this country? And I want to tell you, mm-hmm. what president said has resonated in many parts of this country. It may not have resonated in Mount Kenya, where my friend comes from. But let me tell you, in Luyaland, in Nyanza, in Kisiland, in Coast, in Ukambani, in Northeastern, it has resonated with the people. And if deputy president really wants to be president of this country, mm-hmm. he has to listen to those voices.
All right.
He cannot ignore them.
All right, we talk of the deputy president. That is a little bit higher. You yourself, you are a nominated member of parliament.
Yes.
Just for purpose of clarity, isn't it?
Yes.
You are nominated because of your individual capacity.
Yes, I was nominated by my party.
Not necessarily because of your tribe.
Not necessarily by my tribe. My input into the party. You know my contribution to the party in terms of its formation, in terms of its marketing.
Which brings us
and
to
in
the
terms
question of
its
you,
strength.
the individual,
Yes.
not the community, isn't it?
Yes.
But when it comes to other high offices, it is the community, not the individual.
But you see, when we go into that scenario, we get it off the mark. Because this weekend, I was in a funeral in Kakamega. And I told Karanja Kibicho, who is a PS Interior, I told him, you go and tell the president that what he said in Mululu has resonated with these people. And people cheered. And I said, the response from the deputy president that what president talked about is tribalism does not add up. Because when the deputy president sent his men to go and remove Professor Laban Airo as the vice chancellor of Moi University, wasn't that tribalism? When he supported an independent candidate against a Jubilee candidate in Tarubo constituency, Kevin Okwara, wasn't that tribalism? When he removed an old sickling man, Adrian Mutesh, from his farm in Tarubo because he's a lawyer, wasn't that tribalism? When our people in Nandi County are facing eviction every day because they are lawyers, isn't that tribalism?
But when a
so
leader
let's
like
not
you-
talk about tribalism. We must address
All
the
right.
issue, the problem of tribalism. Even a country like
are you
Nigeria.
making-
Nigeria is a tribal community.
Are you making that
They
point?
had to go for rotation of
All right,
presidents.
all right. Are you making that point of tribalism because X is more tribal than Y? Because all what we have seen in the political circles is that it exists.
It exists, and that's why we need to address it.
And it's not a singularity of the deputy president.
Even in Nigeria, a tribal demographic country, they had to come out with a solution to the issue of tribalism. And
All
that's
right.
why they have rotation of presidents.
All right.
In Malawi now, they are now having a discourse around the issue of rotation of presidents. EU member states, they have rotation of presidents.
Okay, let me give
Switzerland-
You asked
Because
Ososi-
of the
interest,
interest.
because of the
you
interest of time
asked Ososi
regarding
a very
that.
good question. Because he has been nominated, okay, his party is a Luya thing, so he is one of the sub-tribes in Luya. I don't know whether he's
His
Idaho.
party is actually
Let me
Amani
say,
National Congress.
whatever he is,
It's not a Luya
his
thing.
party.
All right.
So he can say because he was nominated, next time, yeah, somebody else from another community should be nominated so that it is not the same community. It's a lot of nonsense. This country is looking for leaders to change people's lives. And I don't think it matters where you come from. I think we must elect leaders based on their ability
All right.
to deliver. And I think what people must present, and why the people in Mululu are cheering, is because they thought if it's rotational, and Ruto, who is a very strong front runner, is put aside on the basis of what the president was saying, then maybe Musalia Mudavadi or Raila Odinga has a chance. Let me tell these guys, what the president said is okay. It's a suggestion. It's not implementable.
Yes.
Because one, you cannot bar anybody from contesting based on his tribe. Or what the president will do if he wants to make it a reality, he would have to campaign against a Kalenjin and a Kikuyu. He would have to take time to campaign against them and campaign for the other communities. What I want to tell Sosi here, they are candidates. Let them not take that matter seriously. Let them go and look for votes in Kenya.
All right.
Because to deal with this tribalism, that is why we brought devolution. Every community has a small government, you know, and it has money. And they are even proposing to give them more money so that every community has a small government to deal with the peculiar issues in that area. In terms of our constitution, it's 50+1. So what they can do, if they must go tribal, let them get this tribe, and agree on one candidate to face a national candidate, William Ruto. who is national, who is not appealing to his ethnic group.
All right.
He is appealing to all Kenyans. Let them sit down. All those people who believe that the Kikuyus and the Kalenjins should not have a chance, let them group and look for one person, because the seat cannot be taken by two persons.
You talk of tribes, and we have to be, because of the interest of time, very realistic of how the political dispensation of this country that we so love, but unfortunately at times looks tribal is. There is no mathematical chance of I, Abu Bakr, for instance, defeating you in Mathira. There's no mathematical chance.
For MP?
Yes, there's no math.
For MP, you will not defeat
that out as
for MP, you will not defeat me. For another seat, you will defeat me. Depending on the programs that you have. Mathira people are people who have gone to school. If you come and you have better programs than I have.
But given the ethnic dominance.
No, let me tell you, Abu Bakr, what is happening. And that is why the tribalists are having a problem with the Hasala narrative. This Hasala narrative cuts across tribes. You know, they would want us, even the BBI, the 5 seats, are for tribes to come together and decide who will be the president of this country. The Hasala narrative, and by the way, the hustler is not the poor person. And this thing is not anything to do with the poor versus the rich. No. The hustler...
But that's how it is presented,
No. By its critics. By its critics.
Uh-huh.
The hustler is a creator of wealth. The hustler narrative means the fact that you are down there does not mean that one day you will not be up there. Everybody has a chance, an equal chance. And we are saying the hustler narrative is that including those people down there, they must come and sit on the high table. And that is why people are very uncomfortable. When we talk about the person down there, it is said there will be problems in Kenya. But when we have been talking about the big boys, about the rich people, about the big families, there are no problems. But when you talk about the ordinary Kenya...
Gentlemen, because of the interest of time, I'll give you a chance to react.
And let me say, let me also say, Abu Bakr, let me
final question, as you say.
Before you tell me.
Okay.
It cannot be that the ordinary people are only important when they are going to vote.
All right.
We want to change the conversation. The ordinary people must have a seat on the table to discuss the economy of this country, to discuss the leadership of this country.
Regarding
they must have a seat on the table.
Earlier on, you talked about the president realizing now that there needs to be more than 2 tribes at the presidency. It seems as though a large section of politicians, you included, are also realizing now that they are hustlers and dynasties. It wasn't the idea on the table in 2013, neither was it the idea on the table in 2017.
No, what is happening is that
as we finalize,
the Kenyan person is having an involvement. There's a lot of awareness. People are so much aware. You know, yesterday I was in a meeting in a place called Sagana Primary School, and one of the boys asked for a chance to speak, and he told me, please, this time don't tell us whom to vote for.
All right.
It is us who will tell you. Okay? They told me your seat, that is assured, we'll give you because you have worked. Ruto will give him. Governor, senator, women rep, please don't tell us, we'll tell you.
My question
what is happening is this.
My question still is, why the realization of hustlers and dynasties now?
It is just an involvement of the political process that it is important even for people who are down there to be part of the conversation.
All right. I understand we are extremely out of time. Osotsi.
Okay. One of the issues that Honorable Rigathi has raised is the issues of ability, leadership ability. You know, that's what Tanga is using to justify their narrative against communities which has held these positions for long, against the other communities. And I want to ask, really, if you have been in this country, can you really claim someone like Ruto, someone who's never been employed anywhere? He left university, he was engaged by Jirongo in YK 92, they made a few things here and there, we know what they did, and he was elected as a member of parliament, became a minister, deputy president, and now he's there. Can you really talk about ability when you compare him against an individual like Raila Odinga? Raila Odinga, who has fought, he's been imprisoned. He's fought for reforms in this country, multi-party, new constitution, whatever, opposition. Really? And we talk about ability. Number 2 issue is the issue of why the narrative of hustler now. I think the issue of narrative of hustler now comes in because of they had anticipated, and they are very sharp people. they had anticipated this issue of people saying you've been there for long. So they bring in a fake community called hustler. And this hustler, you know, it is true we have hustlers in this country, but we have two types of hustlers. We have fake hustlers, who includes people like Rigathi here, people like Ruto, mabwenyenye wa hii dunia, and then we have the true hustlers, those young men who are suffering, boda, those mamambogas, and others who are going through daily hustles. Those are real hustlers.
All right.
So when they bring in the issue of hustlers, is they are being dishonest, and that brings me to the issue of.
And you have alluded to that.
Let me finish
times.
the point. The issue of dishonesty, that these guys were in the Jubilee government. They made promises. One of the promises they made is that they're going to build stadiums across the country. Have they built the stadiums? No. They were going to give us laptops in primary schools in 6 months. Now, the kids they cheated to give them laptops are now going to class 8.
Again,
they have not gotten the laptops.
The Jubilee
now they have to look for something and say, we could not give you this because we are hustlers. That is not true.
The Jubilee
we are
government
dealing with a very dishonest group who have left the president on his own. They made their money. They made their money in the first term. They made their money in the first term. We know what they did, and these issues are going to come out. And now they are coming around to explain that we are hustlers, so that we don't ask them this question.
Osotsi, I've given you more than enough time. 30 seconds.
You can be elected in Madeira.
I can be elected in Madeira?
You can. In Meru, there is a Muhindi, a Muhindi called Dawo. He's a member of parliament for Imenti Central. In Kasese, in Eldoret, there is a Muhindi called Mishra. Yeah? Those are minorities. On capacity, they have been elected because they are able. Number two, why we cannot build stadiums is that when the hardship came, these people.
No.
Wait, let me finish.
I will not.
Let me finish.
No, that is not true. That is not true.
Let me finish.
That is not true.
Let me finish.
But get it on record.
When we were elected as Jubilee,
10 seconds.
When we were elected as Jubilee, we had an agenda called the Big Four: manufacturing, food security, housing, and affordable healthcare. When the hardship came in, we changed our priority from the Big Four to the small two, the handshake and the BBI. We lost focus. We pursued things that are amorphous, that are abstract. They cannot now come and tell us about the stadiums. They are pursuing the BBI. They are pursuing the handshake. We lost focus as a country. When I was being elected, nowhere did Uhuru Kenyatta and myself campaign that when you elect us, we shall go to change the constitution. It was not there. We talked about building stadiums. We talked about affordable healthcare. But when the hardship came, they said there is another emergency. Forget about the Big Four.
Rigathi Gachagua is Madeira lawmaker. Godfrey Osotsi is nominated member of parliament. Gentlemen, thank you for making time for us tonight. Well, that brings us to the end of tonight's edition of Pundits Night. On behalf of the entire team that made this production possible, the debate continues online. Keep sending us a message on 2204.